All right, Big Blue, it's time for Know Your Enemy. Representing Carolina is Dean Jones, editor of Cat Crave on Fansided. All right, Dean, first and foremost, you're not my enemy. That's just the name of the segment, man. Thanks for joining us today. But let's break down this matchup from the Panthers side of things. And we're going to talk about quarterback Baker Mayfield. He struggled for 3 quarters, but he turned it on in the 4th against the Browns. So how do you see Baker, Ben McAdoo, and this Panthers offense attacking the Giants' D?
I think Baker just has to slow down, really. He was a little bit amped up, as expected, over the first half, really, and made some mistakes. Looked little bit antsy in the pocket, but like you say, he turned it around late on. Perfect passer rating in the 4th quarter. Just cutting out the silly mistakes, really. That obviously comes with being more familiar with the system. Obviously, much has been made about the quarterback position and the competition they had with Sam Darnold, really, which limited his reps. So the more familiar they get, the better it's going to be, I think. But it's important, I think, against the Giants and their front not to force the issue. Take what they give them early on and sort of make more focus on Christian McCaffrey, because giving him 3 carries in the first half last week was not exactly a recipe for success.
Well, let's talk about... I'm sorry to jump in there, but let's talk about CMC, because he's this week's Giants killer. How do you think Ben McAdoo and the Panthers are going to use CMC not only against the Giants' run defense, but our linebackers in pass coverage as well?
Yeah, I think I watched the Giants, and they did well to restrict Derrick Henry last week. 82 yards on 21 carries. That's no mean feat, really. But they've got to set the tone with McCaffrey early. I mean, the Browns dared the Panthers to sort of try and beat them with a pass last week. And Ben McAdoo took the bait, really, and left them in a hole that they couldn't get out of. But I think if they just rely on the offensive line, establishing the run, I mean, it all begins in the trenches, really. Carolina made some good additions to their line last year. Ikem Ekwonu's come in as well, who's a formidable run blocker. So playing to their strengths, being patient, and getting a little bit more creative. I mean, Carolina's offense was very predictable last week against the Browns. So I'm expecting to see a little bit more invention in terms of how McCaffrey's deployed, and maybe perhaps Dante Foreman and Chuba Hubbard getting more involved as well to take some of the heat off.
All right, let's stay in the trenches, but let's talk about the Panthers' defense. They gave up 141 against to Nick Chubb. And Saquon Barkley is looked like the Saquon of old. So how do you see the Panthers' defense neutralizing Saquon?
Yeah, the run defense has been a problem for some time. Carolina was bullied last week. There's no getting away from it. 17 missed tackles, and gap discipline's a real problem on the edge and at the second level with our linebackers. Damian Wilson really struggled last week. So, I mean, Saquon just looked sensational last week, didn't he? So I think the best way for the Panthers to neutralize him is to set the edge. Don't allow any sort of stretch runs or Saquon to get any momentum, and make your tackles count, because Saquon's got the physicality and explosiveness to break off big yardage and kill Carolina.
Yeah, I see the Panthers defense trying to load the box to take Saquon Barkley out of the game, which means that they are going to make Daniel Jones throw. The Panthers pass defense held Jacoby Brissett to 18 of 34 for only 147 yards and 1 touchdown. So how do you see them attacking Daniel Jones if they put the ball into his hands for him to beat this Panthers defense?
Yeah, I think that's quite misleading, because Jacoby Brissett missed some wide open throws last week. If it was a better quarterback, say if Deshaun Watson would have played, it would have been a lot worse for Carolina. Communication was a bit of a problem, and ill discipline as well. Xavier Woods had an interception that was brought back for CJ Henderson pass interference, which cost Carolina in a big moment. The talent's there. Carolina have got a lot of talent in their secondary. Steve Wilkes is coaching them up well this offseason. JC Horn, Jeremy Chin, Dante Jackson, CJ Henderson. But I think Daniel Jones last year had a pretty decent game against Carolina during that kind of embarrassing loss for Matt Rule, really. He had a 95.8 passer rating, I think. No interceptions. But I think you've just got to keep him contained. And most importantly is keep aware of his ability to generate yards on the ground as well. So I think they've got a real problem ahead of them this weekend.
All right, Giants fans, you want to learn more about the Carolina Panthers, you can check Dean Jones out on Cat Crave on Fansided. Dean, once again, thanks for joining us, my man.
No problem. Thank you for having me.